Welcome back to the channel. Today we continue our journey into the hidden history of the world's most extraordinary gemstones, the ones reserved exclusively for royal treasuries. From diamonds that crowned emperors to sapphires that traveled through exile, these stones are more than ornaments. They are fragments of power itself. And if this is your first time here, we invite you to subscribe and join us on this journey. It is the simplest way to support our work and truly the greatest gift you can give to this channel. Now let us begin. Top 10 Royal Gemstones in the World. Top 10. Stuart Sapphire, United Kingdom. When we think of Britain's crown jewels, most of us imagine the dazzling Cullinan diamonds or the infamous Koh-i-Noor. But let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed what lies quietly at the very back of the imperial state crown? Few visitors even realize it's there. Hidden from the spotlight is a deep blue gemstone known as the Stuart Sapphire. Geographically, this sapphire story begins not in England, but thousands of miles away in Sri Lanka, historically known as Ceylon. The island's riverbeds and gem-bearing gravels have supplied the world with blue sapphires for over 2 millennia. The Stuart Sapphire, weighing 104 carats, is likely to have come from those mines. Its composition is simple: aluminium oxide colored by traces of iron and titanium. But the result is a color so steady and saturated that even centuries of polishing have not diminished it. Why is this stone in our top 10? Not because of its sheer size or value, but because of the political weight it carried. The sapphire entered royal history with the Stuart dynasty in the 17th century. After James II was deposed during the Glorious Revolution of 1688, many of the Stuarts' treasures were scattered across Europe. This sapphire accompanied them as they traveled through France and Italy, while the family lived in exile. Imagine the scene: a displaced royal court, stripped of a throne, but clinging to a gem as proof of legitimacy. Can you see how a stone becomes more than jewelry? It becomes a banner for a cause. By the 19th century, the Stuart Sapphire resurfaced in Britain under Queen Victoria. It was set into the imperial state crown, but placed at the back, beneath the arch. Why there? Some historians suggest it was a symbolic act. While the Cullinan and the Black Prince's ruby gleam in front to declare power and conquest, the Stuart Sapphire sits quietly behind them, marking dynastic continuity. The monarchy wanted to acknowledge its turbulent past, but not flaunt it. For those of you watching, when you visit the Tower of London, would you take a moment to look behind the Cullinan II diamond? Most tourists focus on the front, where the light falls strongest. But if you shift your gaze, you will see this sapphire, calm and unassuming, holding a lineage that connects modern Britain to the exiled Stuarts of centuries ago. This is why it deserves a place in our top 10 royal gemstones. Not for brilliance, not for carat weight, but for the way it threads geology, exile, and restoration into a single object. From the gem gravels of Sri Lanka, across the courts of Europe, and finally to the crown of Britain, the Stuart Sapphire teaches us that in royal treasures, the story is often more valuable than the sparkle. Top 9. Regent Diamond, France. If you were asked to choose the most perfect diamond in Europe, which one would come to mind? Many people think of Britain's Cullinan stones, but in France, the crown once held a gem so flawless that even experts today still rank it among the greatest of all time. The Regent Diamond. This diamond was discovered in 1698 in the Golconda mines of India, an area renowned for producing some of history's most legendary stones, including the Koh-i-Noor and the Hope Diamond. The Regent originally weighed 410 carats in rough form. Imagine the scene: a miner pulling from the earth a crystal so bright and so clean that it must have seemed supernatural. Would you, standing there, even dare to believe such a stone was real? The diamond was purchased by Thomas Pitt, the British governor of Madras, and sent to London to be cut and polished. After 2 years of careful faceting, the rough crystal was transformed into a 141-carat cushion-cut gem, exceptional for its symmetry, brilliance, and flawless appearance. By the early 18th century, it was already regarded as one of the purest diamonds ever fashioned. France acquired the diamond in 1717 when Philippe II, Duke of Orleans, purchased it for the French crown jewels. From that moment, the Regent Diamond became the pride of Bourbon monarchs. It adorned the crown of Louis XV, then the hat of Napoleon Bonaparte, and later the imperial sword carried during his coronation. Each setting told a story of power, whether Bourbon splendor or Napoleonic ambition. Why does the Regent Diamond earn a place in this top 10? Because it is not only a gem of extraordinary quality, but also a mirror of France's turbulent history. When the French Revolution broke out, the Regent was stolen from the royal treasury during the infamous 1792 jewel heist. It resurfaced years later, recovered and returned to state ownership. That survival itself is remarkable. Many jewels vanished forever in revolution and war, but the Regent endured. Today, the diamond rests in the Louvre Museum in Paris. Visitors can see it mounted in a Greek-style diadem once worn by Empress Marie-Louise, Napoleon's second wife. Yet here's a question for you. Standing in front of the glass case, do you see only a beautiful diamond, or do you know the weight of history, the revolutions, the empires, the dynasties that passed it from one ruler to another? Geologically, the Regent is a diamond like any other. Carbon atoms arranged in perfect symmetry, but historically it is unmatched. Few stones have witnessed such dramatic shifts in power. From the dusty pits of Golconda to the opulent halls of Versailles, from revolutionary chaos to a museum display, it remains one of the purest diamonds in existence. This is why the Regent Diamond, though smaller than Cullinan or Koh-i-Noor, deserves its ranking in the world's royal treasures. It proves that brilliance is not measured by size alone, but by the legacy a stone carries across centuries. Top 8. Orlov Diamond, Russia. Among the treasures of the Russian Empire, one gemstone stands out not only for its size and brilliance, but also for the almost legendary path it took to the throne, the Orlov Diamond. Today it rests in the Kremlin Diamond Fund, set into the imperial scepter of Catherine the Great. But its story begins far from Moscow, under the scorching sun of southern India. The Orlov Diamond is believed to have been mined in Golconda, the same region that produced other legendary stones such as the Koh-i-Noor and the Regent. In its rough form, it weighed close to 300 carats. Unlike most diamonds, which are recut to maximize fire and brilliance, the Orlov still preserves a style of an ancient Indian rose cut, almost like the curved dome of half an egg, with hundreds of triangular facets. Upon closer examination, it doesn't sparkle in the modern sense. Instead, it glows with a steady, silvery light. Some say this gives the Orlov a spiritual presence rather than just aesthetic beauty. But here's the question for you. Would you expect a diamond of such importance to be part of a temple idol once? According to persistent accounts, the Orlov was initially set as the eye of a statue of Vishnu in a temple in southern India. At some point in the 18th century, it was removed. Whether stolen or sold remains disputed, and it began its journey through merchants and soldiers across Asia and Europe. By the mid-17th century, the stone appeared in Amsterdam, where it caught the attention of Count Grigory Orlov, a Russian nobleman and former lover of Catherine the Great. Desperate to regain her favor, Orlov purchased the diamond and presented it to her as a gift. Catherine, however, did not rekindle their romance. Instead, she immortalized the diamond by having it set into the imperial scepter in 1774. From then on, it became not only a symbol of her reign, but of Russian autocracy itself. The Orlov's place in this top 10 is secured by both its geological rarity and its cultural resonance. It is one of the few excellent diamonds to retain its original Indian cut, linking us directly to pre-modern gem craftsmanship. And politically, it bridges worlds, from a sacred object of Hindu devotion to a central emblem of imperial Russia. Few stones embody such a dramatic shift in context. Today, visitors to Moscow can still see the Orlov in the Kremlin armory, gleaming from the scepter that once rested in the hands of Catherine the Great. You should ask yourself, is this diamond more valuable as a mineral specimen of nearly flawless carbon, or as a witness to centuries of conquest, devotion, and ambition? That duality, stone and story, is what earns the Orlov diamond its ranking among the most extraordinary royal gemstones of all time. Top 7. Darya-i-Noor Diamond, Iran. In Persian, its name means the Sea of Light. The Darya-i-Noor Diamond is not just another royal gemstone. It is one of the largest and most celebrated pink diamonds in the world. Today it lies deep inside Tehran's national treasury of jewels, guarded by armed vaults and steel doors. But its journey begins, like so many legendary diamonds, in the mines of Golconda in India. The Darya-i-Noor is estimated at around 182 carats in its cut form. What makes it unique is its delicate, pale pink hue, a scarce color for diamonds. Geologically, that pink tone comes from slight distortions in the crystal lattice of carbon atoms. Unlike yellow or blue diamonds, which owe their colors to trace elements such as nitrogen or boron, the pink shade of the Darya-i-Noor is caused purely by structural irregularities during its formation deep in the earth. That rarity alone already secures its place among the world's great treasures. But ask yourself this: what makes a diamond valuable? Its carat weight, or the empires that fought to possess it? The Darya-i-Noor is not just a mineral specimen. It was once part of the fabled peacock throne of the Mughal emperors in India. When the Persian ruler Nader Shah invaded Delhi in 1739, he seized an enormous treasure of jewels, including the Koh-i-Noor and the Darya-i-Noor. From that moment, the diamond became a symbol of Persian power. Later dynasties of Iran kept the stone as the centerpiece of their regalia. Qajar rulers often wore it set into elaborate armbands or headpieces, displaying it during court ceremonies. Its size and soft glow made it instantly recognizable, almost like a royal signature. Unlike the Koh-i-Noor, which eventually left Asia for Britain, the Darya-i-Noor never departed Persian soil after the 18th century. This continuity gives it an unmatched place in Iran's national identity. During the 20th century, the stone was studied by Canadian experts from the Royal Ontario Museum, who confirmed its Golconda origin and suggested that it may have once been part of an even larger diamond, possibly paired with the Noor-line, another famous pink diamond in the Iranian treasury. If true, then the Darya-i-Noor is not only a standalone gem, but also half of a greater whole, a fragment of a once unimaginable crystal. So when you picture this stone today, resting under bright museum lights in Tehran, ask yourself, are you seeing merely a beautiful diamond? Or are you witnessing the survival of centuries of conquest, transfer, and symbolism? For Iranians, the Darya-i-Noor is more than a jewel. It is a reminder of resilience, a piece of history that never left their hands. This is why it belongs in the top 10 royal gemstones. Not just for its color or size, but because it tells a story of power seized, preserved, and held to this day. Top 6. Black Prince's Ruby, United Kingdom. It shines at the very front of the Imperial State Crown, a glowing red stone that has been part of England's history for nearly 7 centuries. Known as the Black Prince's Ruby, it is not a ruby at all, but a red spinel. And yet, despite the misidentification, its journey through war, intrigue, and ceremony has made it one of the most legendary gemstones of the British crown jewels. Geologically, spinel is a magnesium-aluminium oxide, often confused with ruby until modern gemology developed precise methods of analysis. The Black Prince's Ruby weighs roughly 170 carats. It is polished, not faceted, and drilled with a small hole at the top, evidence that it was once worn as a pendant in battle. Its deep crimson color, uniform and rich, made it indistinguishable from ruby in medieval Europe, and perhaps that confusion added to its myth. The stone entered English history in 1367 when Don Pedro of Castile presented it to Edward of Woodstock, better known as the Black Prince, after Edward's victory at the Battle of Naira in Spain. From then on, it carried an aura of triumph, but also of bloodshed. Worn by Henry V on his helmet during the Battle of Agincourt in 1415, it survived one of the most famous conflicts of the Hundred Years' War. Chroniclers record that the king was struck in the head by an axe, yet the stone remained intact. Can you imagine a jewel surviving a battlefield strike and then appearing centuries later in a coronation crown? The Black Prince's Ruby has been set and reset in various crowns over the centuries. Still, since the 19th century, it has held pride of place on the front cross of the Imperial State Crown, directly above the Cullinan II Diamond. It is the first gemstone most visitors notice when viewing the crown in the Tower of London. Why does it belong in this top 10? It embodies the way jewels can act as silent witnesses to war and dynasty. Unlike diamonds, which symbolize wealth, or sapphires, which signal continuity, This spinel bears the scars of medieval Europe itself. It traveled from the battlefields of Spain to the helmets of English kings, from victory parades to coronation rituals. Few stones can claim such a direct connection to both blood and crown. Here's a question for you. When you stand before the imperial state crown, do you see a glittering red jewel, or do you see centuries of conflict and survival crystallized into a single stone? That dual vision, beauty and battle, is what makes the Black Prince's ruby unforgettable. This spinel may not be a ruby, but its history is far more valuable than its mineral name suggests. For the crown jewels of Britain, it remains a centerpiece of identity, glowing with the memory of war and the endurance of monarchy. Top 5. Imperial Spinel, Russia. High above the double-headed eagle of the Russian Empire, one stone dominates the imperial crown, a fiery red crystal weighing an astonishing 398 carats. Known as the Imperial Spinel, it is the largest gem in the Romanov regalia and one of the largest spinels in the world. Unlike the faceted diamonds and sapphires that sparkle with precision, this stone features a broad, polished surface, glowing with the deep red color characteristic of iron-rich spinel. Geologically, spinel is often confused with ruby. Both share a similar red hue, but their internal structures differ. Spinel forms in magnesium-rich metamorphic rocks, often alongside corundum. For centuries, gem cutters in Europe had no way to distinguish between them, which is why spinels were frequently mistaken for rubies until modern science revealed the truth. The Russian Imperial Spinel, however, is remarkable not just for its size but for its uniform, vivid color, a rarity even among large crystals. But how did such a massive stone reach Russia? Its story stretches back to Central Asia, where the great trade routes of the Silk Road moved precious stones from Afghanistan and Badakhshan into Persian and Russian markets. By the 17th century, the spinel was already recognized as a jewel worthy of a king. It entered the Russian treasury during the reign of Catherine the Great in the late 1700s, possibly as part of the spoils or gifts from Central Asian rulers who sought alliances with the expanding Russian Empire. In 1762, the imperial crown of Russia was crafted for Catherine's coronation. The jeweler Jérémie Posier designed it with more than 4,900 diamonds, silver arches, and pearls. But at its very top, he placed the massive red spinel. Why? Unlike diamonds, which symbolize wealth, or emeralds, which signal fertility, the red spinel projected unmistakable power and dominance. It glowed like a beacon above the empire. For every coronation that followed, from Catherine to Nicholas II, the imperial spinel marked the absolute authority of the czars. And here's something to ask yourself. When you look at this crown today, do you see a gem, or do you know an empire that no longer exists? The Russian monarchy ended in 1917 with the revolution, but the spinel survived. Now kept in the Kremlin armory, it is no longer a symbol of living power, but of history, continuity, and lost grandeur. Its place in this top 10 is unquestionable. At nearly 400 carats, it is among the greatest spinels ever mounted in regalia. But beyond carats and color, it tells the story of Russia's imperial ambition, its rise, its consolidation, and its eventual fall. The imperial spinel reminds us that in royal jewels, weight is measured not only in carats, but in centuries of history balanced on a single stone. Top 4. Sancy Diamond, France. Among the diamonds of Europe, few have traveled as widely or changed hands as often as the Sancy Diamond. Today it rests in the Louvre Museum in Paris, displayed under controlled lights that emphasize its pale yellow glow. But behind the glass lies not just a 55-carat gem. It is a witness to centuries of shifting power, betrayal, and ambition. Geologically, the Sancy is a pale yellow diamond, likely mined in Golconda, India. Its cut is unusual by modern standards. A double rose cut, symmetrical but lacking the sharp brilliance of today's faceting styles. Instead of dazzling flashes, it radiates a soft, steady light. For medieval and Renaissance rulers, this subtle glow was prized as a sign of purity and balance. The stone entered European history in the late 1400s, when it was purchased by Charles the Bold, Duke of Burgundy. After he died in battle, the diamond disappeared, only to resurface in the hands of French kings. Later, it passed to Portugal, then back to France, then to England, and once more to France again. Each transfer came during a moment of political tension, dowries, loans for armies, or the bargaining chips of kings desperate to hold power. One of its most famous owners was King James I of England, who prized it as part of the crown treasury. But even in royal vaults, it was not safe. During the English Civil War, many royal jewels were dispersed, and the Sancy vanished again, only to re-emerge in continental Europe. Its final return to France occurred under the reign of Napoleon III, and it was eventually placed in the Louvre, where it remains today. Now consider this. Why did rulers risk so much to own a 55-carat diamond when far larger stones existed? The answer lies in its reputation. For centuries, the Sancy was believed to bring stability to whoever held it. Its unusual cut, with symmetrical faces on both sides, was seen as a metaphor for balance, perfect for monarchs desperate to project order in chaotic times. For modern viewers, the Sancy Diamond is fascinating not so much for its geological features as for its remarkable survival. Many royal jewels were lost to wars, revolutions, and thefts. Yet the Sancy always reappeared, resurfacing at pivotal moments in European history. Would you call that a coincidence, or the invisible hand of those who believed it carried protective power? Its place in this top 10 comes not from its size, but from its legacy. The Sancy reminds us that the value of a gem is measured not only in carats or clarity, but in the number of thrones it has touched, the dynasties it has crossed, and the stories it still whispers through museum glass. Top 3. Cullinan II, United Kingdom. At the front of the imperial state crown, directly beneath the Black Prince's ruby, gleams a diamond of extraordinary size and clarity. The Cullinan II, known as the second star of Africa. At 317 carats, it is the second largest cut from the historic Cullinan Diamond and one of the most visible jewels in Britain's regalia. Geologically, the Cullinan is a pure diamond crystal, carbon atoms arranged in a flawless lattice under immense pressure deep within the Earth's mantle. Discovered in 1905 in the premier mine of South Africa, the original rough weighed an astonishing 3,106 carats, the largest diamond ever found. Imagine the shock of miners when they unearthed a crystal larger than a human fist. So clean, it looked almost like a block of ice. Let me ask you, if you were the one holding it, would you even believe it was real? The Cullinan was eventually presented to King Edward VII as a gesture of loyalty from the Transvaal colony, only a few years after the Boer War. Its cutting was entrusted to the Asher family in Amsterdam, who spent months studying the rough stone before daring the first strike. The result was 9 major diamonds and 96 smaller stones. Among them, Cullinan II was cut as a cushion-shaped gem, large enough to dominate the front of a crown, but proportioned to show both depth and brilliance. Since 1911, Cullinan II has sat at the very front of the imperial state crown, beneath the arches of golden enamel. It is impossible to miss. During coronations, it is the stone that catches the camera, the light, in the eyes of millions watching. For many Britons, it has become the most familiar face of the crown jewels. But why does it belong in this top 10? Because it represents more than geology. It is a gemstone tied directly to the politics of the empire. The gift of the Cullinan was intended to heal the wounds between Britain and South Africa, but for many, it remains a poignant reminder of colonial extraction. Even today, voices in South Africa have called for its return. Would you see it as a symbol of unity or of appropriation? What cannot be denied is its enduring role in ceremony. The Cullinan II has witnessed coronations from George V to Charles III, resting in the crown that represents continuity of monarchy through the 20th and 21st centuries. Its clarity and fire make it a marvel of cutting, but its placement, front and center, makes it a statement of enduring authority. The Cullinan II shows us that the meaning of a gem is never fixed. It can be both a marvel of nature and a contested artifact of history, and that is precisely why it deserves its place among the most extraordinary royal gemstones of all time. Top 2. Koh-i-Noor Diamond, United Kingdom. Few gemstones on Earth ignite as much debate, emotion, and controversy as the Koh-i-Noor Diamond. Its name in Persian means mountain of light, and for centuries it was precisely that, the dazzling centerpiece of Asian thrones and conquests. Today, at 105.6 carats, it rests in the Queen Mother's crown, locked inside the Tower of London. But the story of how it arrived there is as contested as any in the history of gems. Geologically, the Koh-i-Noor, like the Cullinan, is a diamond formed deep within the earth under immense pressure. Unlike the pure white brilliance of Cullinan stones, the Koh-i-Noor carries a faint transparency, described historically as like a drop of frozen light. It likely came from the Golconda mines in India, a region that yielded many of history's most famous diamonds. Its earliest records place it in the treasuries of the Delhi Sultanate before passing into the hands of the Mughal emperors. For centuries, the diamond symbolized absolute authority. It was set into the peacock throne of Shah Jahan, the ruler who also commissioned the Taj Mahal. Later, it was seized by the Persian conqueror Nader Shah in 1739 and carried away with other treasures during his invasion of Delhi. After his death, the Koh-i-Noor shifted again, entering the treasuries of Afghanistan and the Sikh Empire. Imagine the uncertainty, a single gem moving between empires, each time signaling a dramatic transfer of power. Would you call it a jewel or a trophy of conquest? In 1849, after the British annexation of Punjab, the Koh-i-Noor was formally ceded to Queen Victoria. Shipped to London, it became both a marvel and a problem. Many observers found its cut dull, so it was recut in 1852 to enhance its brilliance, reducing its weight but increasing its fire. Since then, it has been mounted in various crowns, most famously in the crown of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. Why does it rank number 2 in our top 10? It embodies the intersection of geology, empire, and contested memory. Unlike the Cullinan diamonds, which were gifts, the Koh-i-Noor is widely regarded as a war trophy. India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran have all claimed rightful ownership. Every time a new British monarch is crowned, debate over the presence of the crown jewels resurfaces. Can a stone truly belong to one nation when its path is written in centuries of conflict? Today, visitors can still view it in the Tower of London. Behind the glass, it sparkles, silent and untouchable. However, for millions who trace their histories back to South Asia, it represents more than beauty. It means loss, conquest, and an unresolved past. The Koh-i-Noor is not simply a gem, it is a mirror, reflecting how power is won, how it is displayed, and how it is remembered. And that is why it will remain one of the most discussed royal gemstones of all time. Top 1. Cullinan I, United Kingdom. At the very top of the list stands a diamond so large, so flawless, that it still holds the title of the largest cut diamond in the world. Known as the Cullinan I, or the Great Star of Africa, it weighs an astonishing 530.2 carats. Set into the royal scepter with the cross, it is not just a gem, but a symbol of monarchy itself, authority, permanence, and power in crystal form. Geologically, Cullinan I is composed of pure diamond, with carbon atoms bonded in the most complex natural structure known to science. It was formed deep within the Earth's mantle billions of years ago, and then brought to the surface by volcanic eruptions. The crystal was discovered in 1905 at the Premier Mine in South Africa. The original rough stone weighed an unprecedented 3,106 carats, so large that when the mine superintendent first saw it, he thought it was a piece of quartz. Imagine that moment. You hold in your hands the largest diamond ever found. Would you dare believe it was real? The diamond was eventually gifted to King Edward VII as a gesture of loyalty from South Africa, still under British control after the Boer War. To cut it was a challenge unlike any seen before. The task fell to Joseph Asher in Amsterdam. On the day he struck the first cleavage, legend says he fainted from the pressure. The single crystal was divided into 9 major stones and 96 smaller gems. Among them, Cullinan I was the largest, the masterpiece of the collection. Since 1910, Cullinan I has been mounted in the royal scepter. During coronations, it rests in the hand of the monarch, raised before the public as a visible sign of divine authority. In the jewel house of the Tower of London, it remains one of the most viewed diamonds in the world. Visitors often stare at its sheer scale, struggling to reconcile the fact that such a stone could have come from the earth. But the Cullinan I is more than geology. It is also a political artifact. For Britain, it represented reconciliation with South Africa. For critics, it is a reminder of colonial extraction. The stone's presence in London, rather than Pretoria, continues to fuel debates about cultural ownership and heritage. Should it be celebrated as a shared heritage of the empire, or questioned as a relic of imperial power? This duality is what makes Cullinan I stand at number 1 in our ranking. No other gem combines natural wonder, craftsmanship, and political symbolism on such a grand scale. It is at once a marvel of nature and a contested icon of history. So next time you see the royal scepter, ask yourself, are you looking at the brilliance of the earth or the weight of empire crystallized into a single stone? The Great Star of Africa is both, and that is why it remains the most extraordinary royal gemstone in the world. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the world's royal treasuries. Each gemstone we explored today was not only a marvel of the earth, but also a witness to centuries of power, conflict, and legacy. If you found this story meaningful, we invite you to subscribe and share it with others. It is the simplest way to help us continue bringing you these investigations, and it truly means the world to us. Until next time, when we return with another chapter of history told through the stones that shaped it, we'll see you in the next episode.